Hello friends, welcome to another edition of LearnMate classes, Learn English and Maths at your convenience. Today we're going to be touching on a topic which is nothing else but a writing skill which is part of the CBSE Class 12 examination, and that is writing out invitations. Writing out of invitations is not just a skill which you should be knowing for your Class 12 examination. It will earn you 5 marks definitely. But apart from that, it is a skill which is going to come into practice in a number of places in your later on life. In fact, it must have come into place even in your earlier life. So you should be knowing the art of writing invitations. So invitations are nothing but a form of communication about an event that you are planning to host, and you are actually requesting the presence of the person to whom you are sending out an invite as to what is the event about. Is it a formal kind of an event, or is it an informal kind? The kind of audience that is going to be there, the kind of decor or the decorum that is expected in the meeting. So you are actually trying to set the tone for the event, and it establishes the first impression of the occasion. So when you're writing out an invitation, it can be for two kinds of events. We'll separate them into two kinds of categories. One is the formal ones and one is the informal ones. Now, what would you actually consider a formal event? A formal event is nothing but something like where you'll be having some official ceremony, a workshop. In the school context, it may be the school annual function, the school sports day, or any such official ceremony. So formal invitations, obviously, when they are going out for a formal setting, and so they have to be more structured. They require a polite, respectful tone, and the language has to be precise. You cannot put in extra details or some frivolous things. It has to be precise, professional, and all of them have to adhere to a particular format. Whereas, on the contrary, in an informal invitation, what we have is that it is for a casual event. A casual event, it may be something as small as a birthday party, it may be a wedding, it may be a shop opening, or it may be just a dinner, or it may be even for hangouts or farewell parties, like that. So, once you know that it is for an informal event, for a casual event, the tone can be more relaxed. You can use your personal touch to it. You can use personal language. You can use humor. You can also be more creative, and there is less structure involved in an informal invitation. So, if you are aware, or at least we've been able to establish the difference between formal and informal occasions, now let's just go to the kind of things that are required in a formal invitation. If a formal invitation is set out, or if you receive a formal invitation, the kind of replies that can be sent out, whether they need to be acceptances or whether you're declining the invitation. Similarly, for an informal event, right? So, as I told you, we're going to be discussing writing skills, a class 12 topic in your writing skills section, which will earn you 5 marks in the paper, and otherwise when you are finally out into your lives, you will be able to write invitations, whether for formal events or for informal events, accept invitations, decline invitations in a very, very professional, well thought out manner. So, we are going to be proceeding with the kind of things that we need to do. Yes, so the kind of occasions are going to be formal as informal. Formal, as I already told you, it can be school functions in your context, or inauguration of seminars, workshops, you're inviting a chief guest for an annual day, a sports day. So, multiple such events can be for a debating competition. Informal, calling your friends over for birthdays, calling a whole colony for a carnival, for an opening for a shop, wedding ceremony, etc., etc. So these are the kind of occasions, formal as well as informal. Now there are two kinds of invitations for each, whether it's a formal event or an informal event. There are going to be two types. When you're actually calling multiple, multiple people, you all are already in the school context. You would have seen the school sends out a printed invitation card for inviting your parents for the annual function, because they cannot be writing out individual letters to Mr. Verma, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Singh, etc., etc. So they send out cards to multiple guests. But then, when it comes to special dignitaries, now what do I mean by special dignitaries? Suppose you're wanting to invite someone as a chief guest. You are wanting to invite someone as a guest of honor, or someone who is amongst your esteemed guests. For those people, you're going to be writing out special letters. You need to acknowledge the fact that they are very well established in their field, and also you have to put out a special request to them for them to come and grace the occasion. So this is as far as your formal invitations, the two kinds of invitations to multiple people and to special people. The similar is the case for informal ones. You are when you're talking to a number of people together, like suppose you are sending out a wedding card, you get 500, 600 odd printed, and you give them to a number of people. You're not sending out individual letters. But then, if you want to specially invite a few people who are very close to you or who are special to you, you will be sending out those cards. Now, with this, I come to the syntax or the format of a formal card invitation. Now, that kind of an invitation is always to be put in a box. That's the first thing to remember, that will otherwise lose you your mark. Write the word invitation on top. Whoever the host is, I'll just take you further for a second. See, whoever the host is, here the host is the secretary, theatre club of Villa High School. What is the occasion? He is requesting you to attend the inauguration of the book club. So I go back to my previous slide, the host and the name of the institution. We mentioned then what is the occasion. Thereafter, we have to mention on what day and when is the occasion. So the inauguration of the book club at 5 p.m. on January 26th, where in the school auditorium. So the format, the host has to be mentioned. Where is he is a host for which institution? What is the occasion that he is inviting you for? What is the date, time, and venue? And thereafter, you're also going to be speaking about who the chief guest is. Like here, Sri Arun Verma, renowned author, has kindly consented to be the chief guest for the occasion. So, you need to mention who the chief guest is or who the guest of honor is. Now, again, if I go back, you will see that this was the inauguration of the book club. The book club being a literary event, I have picked up a guest of honor who is a renowned author. Suppose you were asking a person to kind of come, it may have been for, say, the annual sports. It could have been a sports dignitary, or you could have called some important civil dignitary like a district collector or some such thing. Is that okay? So, this is the thing as far as the syntax is concerned. RSVP means, just in case, it's a French abbreviation which basically says that if you have any kind of query or you want to get back to the host, the contact details are especially there, and special instructions like if you want the guest to be in a certain dress code, you want the mobiles to be switched off, you want that the card should be giving entry only to two people. So those kind of special instructions are mentioned at the bottom, right? So here it says like only two entries per card, and RSVP. Who is going to be the RSVP? The person of contact, the secretary who has sent forward the invitation along with this phone number. And here sometimes you can also write the email ID. So this was as far as a formal card invitation is concerned. Let's move on next. Now, as I told you, there are certain dignitaries to whom you need to send out a formal letter. Okay, before I actually move on, here you will notice that everything is in the third person. I did not say that I invite you. So it's basically the third person, the secretary is inviting someone else, and someone else is the chief guest. So I do not use the first and the second person. There's a standard format as I just showed you. The language is very, very formal. Now coming to the format of a letter invitation. Now, just like a proper normal formal letter, what comes in first? It is the address of the sender, followed by the date, address to whom the letter is being sent, subject, sir, and followed by the letter. So, these three things I'm not going to again. Here, the principal of APS School Raigad is sending out an invitation to preside over the annual sports day of APS School. The date on which he is writing the invitation is 20th Jan, and he is addressing it to the district collector. Now let's just have a look at how it should be worded. APS school, first of all, it may be that the dignitary is not very, very well aware of your school. So you need to introduce yourself also. APS school, a well-reputed school in Raigad, is organizing its annual sports day on 15th Feb 2025. Please give some time gap between the date of the letter and the date of the function so that if anyone wants to respond, there is ample time for that person to respond. Also mention if anything special is going to happen. All the schools of the area have been invited to send their sports contingent. In this way, the dignitary who is coming will get a chance to address a larger audience. You are requested to inaugurate the sports day, so you are asking him to inaugurate the sports day on 15th Feb 2025. Your presence will act as a catalyst and inspire us. We will be grateful. Now, you send out an invitation, but what is the guarantee that the person on the other end is going to be accepting that invitation? So, somewhere you need to ask him to speak about his availability. So, we would be grateful if you could kindly confirm your availability for by 30th Jan in order that we can make necessary arrangements. So you've given him sufficient time, you've given him 10 days to respond, and in a very polite way, you told him that we need to make arrangements. So let us kindly have your availability. Or otherwise, you could have said, let us know your schedule of arrival so that we can make necessary arrangements. Formal tone, requestful tone, a respectful tone, and nothing extra can be required. Generally, what CBSE says is it should be the body of the letter should not be for more than 50 words. So this is what you are still, and this is being issued by Mr. Pankaj Verma, who is the principal of APS. Right. So this is the sample of a formal letter of invitation. Moving on next, if I have to reply to a formal invitation, suppose I'm a dignitary and I need to reply, a formal letter format has to be used. Address of the invitee, date, address of the person issuing the invitation to be written. You have to express gratitude. You have to thank the person who has sent the invitation. I thank you for your invitation, and then move on. It is necessary that in formal communication you have to treat the next person with respect. So mention the complete details of the event again. Though it had come to you in the invitation, while you are declining or accepting the invitation, you still need to mention the entire date so that there is no confusion whatsoever on either side. And use only formal language. Do not use informal language. I'm just going to show you a format for accepting first and then for declining next. So, accepting a formal invitation. Remember, we sent out an invitation to the district collector and he is now responding to it. Your invitation to preside over the annual sports day. So, you have to write your subject as your invitation. I thank you for your kind invitation to preside over the inauguration of the sports day to be held on 15th Feb 2025 at 9 am in the school playground. I am delighted to accept the invitation. So here you are accepting it. You just don't say I am accepting the invitation. Express some kind of heartfelt emotion. It could be I am delighted, I am honored to accept the invitation and welcome the opportunity, because we had said that it will serve as a catalyst. I'll go back to that. Your presence will act as a catalyst and inspire us. So the dignitary, while responding, is saying that I would love to interact with the aspiring students. Regards, and he ends off his letter. Very brief, talk about the event, incomplete, and say whether you are accepting it, and one line as to what you will do there, whether you'd like to interact or whether you'd like to offer your views or your opinions and address the gathering there. So something like that. So that would be accepting a formal invitation. If by chance you have some prior commitment and you're not able to attend that function, so you need to decline it. You can't just be silent. I received the invitation, I can't go, so I'm not going to respond. No, you have to respond. So you may get a letter where you are asked to decline such an invitation. So let's move on. Declining is even shorter, but then again, you have to thank for the invitation. I thank you for your kind invitation for the inauguration of the sports day to be held on 15th Jan in the playground. I regret my inability. You are not able to attend, so I regret my inability that because of some prior engagement, I will not be able to attend. Also, offer your wishes. However, you wish the best for the success of the event. Regards, Mr. Arun Sharma. So, this is as far as your formal invitations. I've discussed a card type, a letter type. I've also discussed how to accept a formal invitation or decline a formal invitation. Now, as far as those multiple card formal invitations are concerned, like there are 200 parents who are sent out a card. You do not need to write out a formal thank you and an acceptance or declining of the invitation. It is only those special dignitaries who are supposed to be sending in an acceptance or they are supposed to be declining a formal invitation. With that, we move on to the next kind of events or functions, which are the informal events. So, syntax of an informal card invitation. Again, whenever it is a card, it is always to be in a box. So, again, the word invitation, who are the hosts, what is the occasion, the date, time, and venue, RSVP, and again, special instructions, if any. We'll just compare it with the sample which I'm going to show you. Now, this is the sample of an invitation card for a marriage. Mr. and Mrs. R.K. Malhotra of give the address, the host, and the address. Request the pleasure of your company on the marriage of their son with another lady. And you have to give the particulars of the bride as well at 7 p.m. So, when is it? At 7 p.m. on January 26th. Where is it? At the Leela, which is in Civil Lines, Ambala. With best compliments from relatives and friends. And you have your RSVP here, right? So this is, and here for a wedding invitation, if you wanted to give any special instructions, your presence would be the only gift required or some such instruction could have been given. Is that okay? Or be there by 7:30 p.m. Whatever you want to give as your special instructions can be mentioned on the card. So this, I'll again go back. What has to be the precise information which is given? The host, the occasion. If it was a birthday, Mr. and Mrs. Verma are pleased to invite you for the birthday of their son who turns dash dash years. It is with great pleasure that we invite you to offer your blessings to our son on this occasion. The party will be held at such and such place, at such and such time, in such and such on such and such date. So this is how you will be inviting. As I said earlier, you can be very, very creative and you can use a formal, informal, relaxed tone when you are writing an informal invitation. So this is how a card type invitation will look when you are inviting for an informal event. Now moving on to informal invitations and replies. Informal invitations follow the pattern of ordinary personal letters like dear dash, I am happy to announce, etc. etc. So it's a normal, ordinary personal letter. It's nothing formal. These letters are generally written to friends and to acquaintances. Personal feelings and emotions will find an expression. You are allowed to put in personal feelings and expressions, which was not the case in formal invitations. The style and the tone are relaxed and informal. The writer's address date is given in the usual place. Now, if you remember the difference between a formal letter and an informal letter, in the formal letter you had two addresses. First was the sender's address, date, and then the receiver's address. In an informal letter, you need only to write the sender's address and the date. You do not need to write the receiver's address. So, it is in a similar way for an informal letter. The salutation is usually dear, followed by the name or the relation. Like if you are addressing a friend, it can be dear Smriti, dear Swati. But if you are writing, it's been specifically asked in your question that you are writing to an uncle, so dear uncle. The closing can vary. You can use words like yours lovingly, yours affectionately, regards, etc. That's all up to you. And different tenses. You could be speaking about, remember when we were children, we used to do this. Now she is going to be. So you're intermingling the future and the past. So the different tenses are being used according to the situation as it demands. Is that okay? So we move on to a sample of a letter with a card type invitation. Okay, we've already done card. We are now looking at an invitation letter format. So this is the address on the top, followed by the date. You're writing to a Vandana. You will be happy to know that the wedding of my elder sister, Meenakshi, is being solemnized on 15th November 2024 at Hotel Lakeview, Delhi. So, right in the beginning, what is the occasion? When is it? Where is it? You are invited to join us for the wedding and the pre-wedding functions in the hotel on the 14th and 15th. The personal touch, you've been like family, and the whole family is expecting you for all the functions. If possible, do bring uncle and auntie as well. So there is a very relaxed tone. You do not need to follow any kind of formal phrases. So it's like you actually want the other person to come. You have to kind of express that attachment and that personal emotion. I do hope you will join us on this auspicious occasion. Do let me know your travel details so that arrangements can be made accordingly. Yours lovingly, Leena. This is from one friend to another for the wedding of her elder sister. Is that okay? So, very, very informally done. You need not bother much about the written part. You can be as informal, but do not use word like my mom or my pops, those kind of words, please avoid. Do not be so colloquial in your language when you're writing formal letters, right? So now we put out a sample of an invitation letter. Now, what happens if you're kind of accepting that letter, or what happens when you're declining that letter? So let's first go on to the acceptance. Now, Vandana is replying back to Leena and she says, it came as such a pleasant surprise. Again, if you will notice the address and the date, nothing more than that. Address, whose address? It is Vandana's address, not Leena's address, the sender's address, right? Followed by the date. It came as such a pleasant surprise that our dear Meenakshi is going to get married. First of all, let me congratulate you for this splendid news. I'll definitely come for the wedding and be a part of the pre-wedding celebrations as well. So she's trying to show, yeah, that she really feels happy about the fact that Meenakshi is getting married and she wants to be there to enjoy the celebrations as also to try and help with the preparations. Please let me know if you require any help before that too. I'll make myself available to help in the preparations for the event. I will also try to get Papa and Mummy for the wedding. Yours affectionately, Vandana. So it was a very, very informal way of communicating that she was accepting, and she was also, in a way, trying to say that yes, she's very happy and she wants to help out in the functions as well. Just assume for a moment that this girl, Vandana, for some reason or the other, was not able to attend and she had to decline the invitation. So, what would she write? Let's have a look. Again, the address followed by the date. Whose address? The sender's address. Again, the first line, as usual, we are going to be talking about the invitation. It came as such a pleasant surprise that our dear Meenakshi is going to get married. First of all, let me congratulate you for this splendid. If you notice, these are absolutely similar lines. The first part in both the acceptance as well as when you're declining are the same. I would have definitely come for the wedding, but it's my bad luck that it is on November 12th that Papa is undergoing a surgery. Remember, the wedding was scheduled for 15th of November. So, she is expressing her regret that she'll not be able to come. I'm so sorry that I will not be able to attend, but if you require any help before that, I will make myself available to help in the preparations for the event. Do wish Meenakshi the very best for the wedding in her life. So, also show that you are actually a well wisher and wish Meenakshi the best, or the person who is the main person for whose honor the occasion is being celebrated. Wish him, that person, the very best in his future endeavor or in his life, or whichever way you want to speak. So this is as far as your topic of uh, invitations is concerned. And so you will notice that we have been able to cover out the different kinds of invitations for different kinds of events. So if I say that once you've been able to understand this skill, you will be able to understand the tone of your invitation card, the structure in which you want to write it. You will be able to understand, and how will you base that? This will be based on the audience that you are targeting. It will be based on the kind of event that you are uh, putting up the invitation for, and whatever the tone, whatever the structure, whatever the words that you use, they should resonate with the recipients. It should not be that you write out an invitation which does not really come down to the level of the recipients or come up to the level of the recipients. So it should resonate with them, and also that once you have finished it, you will see that you will be able to master the art of writing invitations, and this you will be able to once you are able to understand what are the expectations in that particular invitation, and you will be able to create a positive impression right from the start for that particular event. As far as your CBSE, if you are able to understand what the event is, what the audience is, accordingly formulate your invitation, you will be able to get your 5 marks, right? So thank you, and I'm quite sure that you would have understood what we are trying to convey here, and we will meet another again for another such lecture where you will be able to address some other writing skill. Thank you. Have a nice day, and you can get back to me for more tips on English, whether it's creative writing or your literature section or the reading comprehension, on my numbers which are given on the board. And otherwise, I go by LearnMate classes, which is the numbers are 77380 21600 or 98675 50621. Thank you. Have a nice day.